In January 2022, Vladislav Kanius was killing 23-year-old Vera Pechteleva, his ex-girlfriend, for several hours. The examination recorded more than 100 injuries, bruises and incised wounds on Vera's body.
For 3.5 hours, he was smoking and killing her.
Death came after strangulation with a wire from an iron. The case received wide publicity after a recording of a call to the police appeared on the network, during which Vera's screams were heard.
Girl, can you hear her yelling outside the door? Where are the police?
As a result, the residents had to break the door themselves, but it was too late. For the brutal crime, Kanius received 17 years in a strict regime colony, but even before the cassation, he left for the war against Ukraine without even serving 6 months in prison. Russian courts often sentence killers not only to prison terms, but also to large cash payments to the victims. They are transferred from the earnings of prisoners. But when those are sent to war, the payments stop. Natalia Nechotnaya stopped receiving accruals in the fall of 2022. Her daughter, 19-year-old Maria, was raped and brutally murdered in 2016 in Obninsk, Kaluga region by two Korobenkov brothers. The girl was buried in a closed coffin.
What am I supposed to do? The murder of my daughter was called by the investigators the most brutal murder of the year. If they have just killed her, if they hadn't tortured her like that, I can't even imagine what kind of torture she endured. Natalia Nechotnaya, mother of the murdered, in an interview with Moskovsky Komsomolets.
In 2019, the Korobenkov brothers were sentenced to 19 years in a strict regime colony. However, no later than October 2022, Vladislav Korobenkov left for the war against Ukraine as part of the Wagner PMC. He spent less than 2 years in the colony. After returning to Russia, such as Korobenkov, the Kremlin guaranteed a pardon. Criminals are removed from all databases, so they simply disappear from view.
The priorities are clearly set in the Kremlin. It is not the Russian people that are important, but Putin's personal goals and desires are more important. The people are just an auxiliary element in achieving goals. The decree on pardoning the prisoners was dated, in my opinion, last summer, when Prigozhin told Putin that it was necessary, and he was told there are no questions.
More than 20,000 Wagnerites who returned from the war have already been pardoned and are even considered heroes. The pardon conveyor leads to a new wave of crimes.
There is no exact data, but the feeling that it will look pretty bad, especially as time passes, it will be easier to see some kind of big picture. These prisoners, apart from the pardoning, also have the criminal record erased. They are updated people with a missing history of crime.
The increase in crime will inevitably lead to the activation of the black market of weapons, experts say. After all, there is little hope that the police will protect Russians from the so-called heroes of Putin's special operation, and people will have to defend themselves from criminals. Reported by Sergey Kulas, Victoria Smirnova, UATV News.